Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Midweek Live. It's not Sunday. It's not. I just used the wrong intro because it's me. I'm sorry, everyone. Start as you mean to go on, etc. Everybody's got their hands up if you hate international break. Well, hands up if you made a mistake and you're less than a minute into it. Sorry. Good evening, Kenneth. How are we? You well?
I'm very good, thank you. Had a right busy day. It was my day off today, and I've been all over the place. So, yeah, had a thoroughly enjoyable day.
Good, mate. Good. Mark, how are you? You well?
I'm doing well, mate. Similar to yourself, bored as shit of the international break, but I was wondering what we're going to actually talk about tonight. But given what Rangers have been up to today, we've got plenty to discuss.
Yeah, we actually have. One of the most difficult things about international breaks, I suppose, is trying not to repeat shows and things like that. So it was good today to be able to go along and speak to Andrew Kavanagh. I was at the meeting today, and he's put out a chairman's update, which went live on the website at 6 o'clock. I'm going to read that to you. Dear supporter, the international break provides an opportune time to share an update on the broader direction of our beloved club. Our ambitions are clear: sustained winning and winning sustainably. Having now spent 10 months in the club, our views on how to accomplish our ambitions are much clearer. We need to create a culture of winning, and we need to continue to prioritise and invest in the men's first team. Culture. Rangers supporters are direct, hard-working, passionate and emotional. I want our supporters to see themselves in the club, whether on the pitch or in the club offices. And I think some of that's been missing over the last months and years. This starts at the top. Over the last 4 months, we have reconstituted, I don't know what that is, our executive team. Jim has joined as CEO and Fraser will become an executive director. We believe our current football structure is working well and we do not plan to hire a sporting director. The executive team is committed to being smaller, nimbler and more entrepreneurial. We want an executive team willing to fight and get its fingernails dirty. If there is a hole to be dug, we want people fighting over shovels. We want fewer consulting firms and less bureaucracy. A culture of winning means returning Rangers' historical DNA and standards. I have tried to spend time with many supporters and former players and staff, and their input has been invaluable. Across the club, we need to continue to partner with these individuals, whether informally as thought leaders and advisors or formally as ambassadors and part of our staff. These links to the past must be strengthened. Financial resources. In football, the level of resources committed to the squad is directly linked to the quality on the pitch. If we want to continue to improve on the pitch, we need to increase the total amount of resources of the club while also shifting as many of those resources to the men's first team as possible. We are raising season ticket prices by 6.5%, except juvenile tickets, which will be kept at the same price. We do not take ticket prices increases for granted. We recognise the exceptional commitment supporters make to the club in the form of ticket purchases. The cost to run the club, player wages, agent fees, security, food and beverage are all rising faster than the overall rate of inflation. We either need the club's revenues to keep pace or we need to decrease the money spent on the squad. We don't believe this is time to decrease the player and football budget. In fact, we think the exact opposite. We are not asking supporters to do all the heavy lifting. We are raising 16 million of additional capital through a new share issue, effective immediately. The capital will be used to support player acquisitions and other club needs. This increased the total capital invested in the club to £36 million in the last year. Increasing the revenue and capital is only part of the path of allocating more resources to the men's first team. If we're going to ask supporters to pay more for tickets, we have an obligation to spend those funds wisely. We have shrunk the size and cost of the executive team. We are systematically reviewing every part of the club, looking for ways to be more efficient, thus enabling a greater share of the resources to go to the men's first team. Old Firm. The club have issued a statement regarding the recent Old Firm match, and I don't want to repeat that statement here, but I also didn't want to ignore such an important subject. We continue to denounce the disorder, property damage, and especially those who denigrated the 66 souls lost in the Ibrox disaster. We fully support the independent review and will work with all relevant stakeholders while continuing to represent the club and our supporters. The women's team, our women's team is currently 5 points off the top and has a cup final against Glasgow City this weekend. The women's team have enjoyed multiple sporting successes over the last several years, and we continue to believe that the team has tremendous operational and financial upside. We're exploring ways to best unlock the potential and wish Leanne and the squad all the best for the final and the weeks and months ahead. Finally, the running. We are 3 points off the lead with 7 matches to play. We have complete confidence in Danny, his staff, and our squad. We will approach each match as it comes, and fingers crossed we will be top of the table after 38 matches. We are in this together, whether creating the club's culture, providing financial support, or cheering on the squad. These are exciting times, and I'm confident that we are, step by step, getting Rangers back to where we should be and need to be. I'm honoured to be doing this alongside each and every one of you. My regards, Andrew. That is the statement, the chairman's update. You can find that, as I said, on the club website. It went live at 6 o'clock. Sorry if I butchered a couple of words. Sorry if I sound a bit rough. I'm still got the cold. And it's weird because my ears are blocked and it feels like I'm underwater. So that was a very strange thing to read out. Kenny, give us your thoughts on it, please.
A terrific open letter, isn't it? Lots to unpack from it, actually. There's a number of things that he said, stuff like the season tickets going up 6.5%, investment into the first team in particular. Lots of things that's come out of that, but it's an honest and frank appraisal of where he sees himself and the club after 10 months of being here. And it's almost like he's done it before. Him and Parag Marathi did this, where they kind of admitted to a certain degree that they underestimated it. And now, 10 months in, he feels he knows exactly what is going to be required. The fact that there'll be no sporting director is interesting. I mean, it's really quite a thing, that when you consider that it seems to be the way that the majority of big clubs go. We've turned around and said, no, we're happy with the structure the way it is. They've cut back on executive directors effectively to turn around and account for cost cutting. And their belief is that every spare penny should be going into the first team, really. And if you're looking at it, and we're going to break it down, obviously, but if you look at it from a perspective as a Rangers fan, there'll be some that, times are tough at the moment with the way the cost of living is, and there'll be some that don't like the idea of season ticket increases. But if you're being blunt, then I think the way the world is at the minute, it was always going to happen. I don't think 6.5% is that high, but I understand people might not like it. But the rest of it, for me, is music to my ears. Actually, I just think that he's someone, and Andrew Kavanagh is someone that seems to get this football club. He seems to understand, and he seems to want to envelope himself in the club, so to speak, and get that success that we desperately crave. And what I like about what he's saying is that it's not so much even getting success, it's maintain. Once we get that success, it's to maintain that success. So for me, as I say, we're going to break it down properly, but for me, and on the whole, I think it's a fantastic kind of statement from him. I really do.
Mark, how did you respond to Andrew Kavanagh's address to the supporters?
Tell you what, Kenny's done a very good job there. But from my perspective, I think one thing since he's actually came in the building has been very transparent. I think the open dialogue he's had with supporters throughout, I think we've went through times where, we've not really had that, where he's sort of been involved. He's also based in America, but, how often have we seen him being part of the club? He's at games. I think the one thing in terms of the supporters as well, to Kenny's point there, yeah, there is also a price increase in terms of season ticket. But if I look at my line of work and everyday cost of living, it's across the board where prices are just increasing. And to be fair, 6.5% in comparison to what it could have been, I don't think it's actually that bad. But across the statement itself, I think there's a lot of good points in there. I think for me, the one big thing though is in terms of investment in the squad. You know, given they are not holding back. You know, they've done quite a bit in the summer, but they're not stopping until we are successful. It's pretty clear to see that they are keen on this club. Andrew Kavanagh, in terms of that involvement he's had with supporters, I think to Kenny's point, he gets it. You know, I think he does love the club. He's had that interaction with supporters in stadiums. He's also doing this in terms of comms, regular updates. From my perspective, I've seen nothing but positive. And throughout the time that he's been here, yes, there's been some mistakes made along the way. However, I think he's learned from them. And from the last 10 months, if you're to assess it, I think we're in a very good place with Andrew Kavanagh involved.
Yeah, I'll come on to that in a minute, but I have to comment on this. Notice Stevie has a shit taste in music because I'm wearing a Who t-shirt. This was £3 from Tesco's, mate. That's it, £3. And
I remember you telling me that, actually.
Yeah, how happy was I that night, Kenny? I love a bargain.
You were buzzing, yeah.
we smile on this wee chubby face of mine. So, Winston, shut up, mate. That's all I've got to say to you in response to that. It's £3. AC/DC, The Killers, that's where I'll be with my music. Anyway, felt I had to address that. Right. I've said this quite a bit, and I'll continue to say it. I think Andrew Kavanagh's fantastic for this football club. He's got ideas. He will, I am convinced, take us to where we want to be. He will revitalise this football club on and off the pitch. And I really like the way he carries himself. Rangers fans aren't manufactured, but it's certainly got under his skin. And I know how much he wants the club to be successful. So I'm really on board with him. I think he carries himself really well. Again, today, nothing's off board. So when you go into this meeting, Greg Mailer chairs it. He's your communications director. And Jim Gillespie also there, along with Andrew Kavanagh, who was obviously at home. So he's joined us online. Nothing's off limits. You can ask whatever you want. And people did. So I'll kind of go through the questions, and then we can look at things that have came up. He was asked about senior appointments, vice chair, any executive roles. There was nothing to do that. He was asked about the season tickets going up, and he basically explained just what you've read in that letter, more or less. Relationships with other clubs and Brand Scotland, football discussions. Jim Gillespie answered that, and he's building relations and influence for the better of the game is the approach that Rangers want to take. Going to come to that because that's really important. Remind me to discuss that. There's a few other things kind of asked about the season ticket. Why was it delayed? Basically due to everything that went on in the old firm was basically why it was delayed. I asked the club Broom loan damages, how much it had cost and what's going to happen behind the ongoing and what I feel is a current growth in tragedy taunting towards Rangers in the 66 that sadly perished. I feel like this has become somewhat sport to taunt Rangers with, and it was high on my agenda to speak with them. On the damages, the club are unwilling to put a price on it. Celtic have covered this cost, and that's ongoing. The Broom loan is completely fixed, the way they want it to be. But costs are ongoing because of stuff like the LEDs and the turnstiles, which are still overall costing, and bills are still to get. So that's all ongoing. With regards to the tragedy taunting, the club has seen one conviction, and they're following up on many culprits. Also working with the authorities. They have petitioned the Scottish Government, and they're proposing that tragedy chanting is added to the legislations that are able to act upon. The club is also working with Liverpool and Manchester United on education around this subject. Both have suffered terrible tragedies. So they're working with them, and they will liaise with both in the summer. So the club are taking it really seriously. I would like to see clubs being told that anybody doing that in our stadium, chanting about it, anyone defacing our stadium will not be invited back. That was my point to the football club. Other things, there wasn't a lot to it. Probably the main one, the share issue, and who has been offered this. Major shareholders are being offered the chance to invest in the 16 millions, but the letters are going out this week. Open to conversations with any smaller shareholders should they seek the opportunity to purchase some, but the minimum shareholding purchase, if you want to be involved in this, is 1,000 shares. So Mark might be able to kind of tell us how much that is money-wise, because he's a financial guy. Stadium footprint and disabled areas update. Acknowledged again that Project Regen, which they're very keen on, making direct impacts on the stadium and surrounding areas. The tarmac's one that needs to be fixed, and they're well aware of that. Only one football question. Andrew Kavanagh answered at the end. Very happy with the progress of signings. They had a big overhaul in the summer. I think we had 10 in last summer, something like that, and then additions in the winter were 4. He says that in the summer it will be somewhere in between. So could we expect 6 or 7? Happy with the team and the squad, but it's always evolving. But they now feel like they've got cornerstones in various positions with more to add. So that's the kind of gist of what went on today. There was nothing off topic, nothing off record, nothing that we couldn't comment on. A bit more on the stadium stuff, that the most feasible thing that they're looking at, and they've got to get some proper quotes and they've got to dig into it properly, but the most feasible one and where we're heading is lowering the pitch to add on the 4,500 seats. That's where they're looking. If you ask me, from what I've gathered in these conversations, that would take us up to 56,000, 57,000. I can see them lowering the Broom loan to add on more seats at the front and things like that as well. I think by the time it's finished, they'll be looking at Ibrox touching 60,000, and that's where they want to be. And that's the kind of medium-term plan. So I think you'll see that over the next 3-4 years. And they say that they've still got a lot of work to do it, but you can actually tell when you're speaking to them and they're talking to you about it that they are far down the line with it, because they've spoke about the potential, how long it's going to take. They would need to do it over a summer, and possibly we need to play away from Ibrox for a bit. So they have looked into it, and I think we'll just need to keep our eyes open on that. There was a lot of it, I think, to unpack, the investment in the squad, what we're going to do in the summer. So with all that said, boys, I realise it's a lot of information to kind of unpack it all. We'll go right back to the very start. The 16 million that they're putting in via shares. Mark, come to you first. Putting you on the spot slightly. I know that obviously you're a financial guy. You might know a bit more. 1,000 shares is a minimum purchase in. That might give you a ballpark figure of what the investment is. I thought that would be roundabout, and I'm could be ignorant and really off pace here, but it would be over £250,000 if you wanted to invest with that kind of level of shares. I might be wrong, but what do you make of that investment, and what will it mean for the football club?
I think for me, from my perspective, as I mentioned earlier, there's definitely a statement of intent. They've made that clear from the day they've came in. With referencing the piece on 20 million was put in the summer. You've got to remember as well, they actually put 75 million to purchase a club. So in the last 12 months, you'll be talking over £100 million that has been put into this football club since Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers have been involved. I think it's clear that, you know, they're obviously wanting to bolster that squad. They've also put in that message where they're not wanting to cut it. So I think there will be obviously some outgoings come this summer. But I think if our key players, unless the offer is right, they won't be looking to sell that. They'll be looking to just bolster that. But £16 million, if we do anything similar to what we've done in January, I think it's pretty clear that we could have a good summer. And if you're mentioning there, between 5, 6, 7 coming in again, given where we are, we're starting 11 just now. I think we could be in a really, really strong position come the summer. But I expect some moving parts out anyway, given there's a World Cup going on. If we have some of our key players performing well, then that could attract some big money coming our way. But I think it's pretty clear that they want us to be a success and they will not be holding back. So from a share perspective, it's very, very positive. But on the flip side of that as well, they are not looking to cut, and also want to maintain where we are and then also push on from there, given we're also going to have some amount of investment coming this summer. But 36 million plus the investment that they used to purchase the club is pretty impressive.
Kerry, as we know, £16 million put into the club like this helps with financial fair play and all that kind of thing. We had talked about this earlier on. I think we all had, and we said that this would happen and this would come. By the way, it'll not be the last. There'll be more share issues. Andrew Kavanagh will keep putting money in. This is the easiest way to do it. And it's obviously puts it straight into our pockets and being able to go out there and spend straight away. Another signal of intent, I suppose, by these guys running our club.
Yeah, and Mark would understand this better than me, but I think that's why they went private almost immediately, wasn't it? It allows them much more flexibility in terms of what they can and can't do. So when you look at the situation with the share issue, they're saying 16 million that they're going to invest as shareholders. They've already said that effectively, when you read between the lines, that a lot of the increase on the season ticket holders, they've actually said that they're not going to leave the supporters just to fund that. It's going to be them and the supporters. So I would expect if there's 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7 coming in, they're going to invest heavily again in the summer. I think a lot of that, without being talking about the football so much, but I think a lot of that might depend on where we finish in this league. If we've got Champions League, you might find that they're prepared to spend even a little bit more yet again. We'll wait and see what happens. But to me, I just look at the statement overall, and all I see all just thrown at me when I read it is ambition. It's a genuine ambition to get this football club back to where it belongs. There's an understanding about one of the things he mentioned was the DNA of Rangers, and we'll probably talk about that, but he feels that that's been lost to a certain degree and he wants to get that back. And DNA, our DNA, without, again, being too heavy-handed about it, is all about winning. And I think they've begun to understand that, whether it's Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers, they've begun to realise that actually this club has lost its way a little bit over the years, and we're here to fix it, is kind of what they're saying. And there's just so much of it that you take, and it's the constant dialogue from Andrew Kavanagh that I really like, and it's the transparency about it that I just look at and think, if you're a Rangers fan and you're worried about this guy, give your head a wobble. He is a very successful guy that wants us to be very, very successful. And I just find it really exciting, Stevie. And I don't want to sit there and, as you say, this has been a kind of almost an information overload the last 20 minutes. But I just look at it and I feel that when you actually break it down bit by bit, there's nothing in that makes me concerned at all. I just can't wait for the future to happen, if you know what I mean. I want to just get on with it, and I'm delighted that he is being so open and frank about where he sees the football club right now and where he wants it to be.
I've said this before, Mark, and I will say it again. For the very first time in a long time, and I'm talking about 20 years perhaps, and even before that, because the financial stuff, for those that followed it, even into the early 2000s, Rangers were getting talked about financially until it finally did happen, and then we tried to build it back up, and then we couldn't spend until this finally happened. This is the first time in 20 odd years I finally feel like Rangers Football Club are heading in the direction it should be, on the pitch and off it. I think the trajectory of this football club is now completely going that way, and I love it. I've got a chairman that I actually really can get on board with, really like, really trust. I believe what he tells us. I believe what he wants to do with the football club. I think he gets it. Rangers might not win the league this year, and that's all right. We understand that. We can't win the league every year. We all desperately want it to happen. Rangers will win the league next year, and they will win it for years after that as well, because that's the way this football club's going. Sustained winning sustainably. Rangers will make a record sale this summer. They'll make a record signing this summer. All these things are going to happen under Andrew Kavanagh. We're actually in a position where we can look forward to the summer of signing 6 or 7 players, of more big names coming in, big name signings. He told us 8 million for Yusuf Chermiti is where he sees his football club. So this, for me, Mark, is a very exciting time. Look, we all want to win the league this year, but the trajectory of the football club is going up the way, and we should all be strapped in and ready to back the club, because it's exciting times.
Yeah, I think we've got to embrace every moment here. As you said, he came in summer, he was pretty clear from day one where he wanted the club to be. Just look at the message today, he's pretty clear on where this club is going and where he wants it to go. As I mentioned earlier, there's been some mistakes along the way, but we're still in with a fighting chance for the title this year. But if it's not to be, as you said, in the future, given where the investment they're putting into this club, along with some of the changes they've made along the way, we're slowly making steps to the direction of where this club should be and hasn't been for quite some time now. I think to your point there, in terms of what we were used to back in the 90s and early 2000s, signing big summer signings, spending a lot of money, given where we've been for the last 20 years, the supporters have been through a lot. I think from our perspective now, we've just got to, as you say, strap ourselves in and enjoy this journey. It's been too long for us to go through what we have. The only successful season we've had is 55. Far too long for a club of our size.
Absolutely is, Kenny. But the trajectory of the football club, for me, it's looking positive. We're secure. Things are happening on and off the pitch that we can be looking forward to. Ibrox does need renovation. Ibrox does need TLC. We're going to get all that. We're going to get players on the park that we're going to enjoy. We're already got some of them. And it continues to have ambition. And I think that's a really positive thing. And I can only see the trajectory genuinely going up the way for this football club.
Yeah, and if you look back to this time, it was about this time last year that we got the knowledge that they were serious, wasn't it? If you think about it, about buying this football club, maybe just over a year ago. But when you stop and you consider that, we thought that at the time, that when you look at a guy like Andrew Kavanagh, who is so successful in his own field, and you look at the 49ers who are ultra successful in their field, and you look at it and you think they're not buying Rangers to finish second. They are seeing the potential of a Champions League club year in, year out. That's what they see. And what they have to do is get the infrastructure in place, the business model in place, the football management team in place, the players in place, and it all comes together. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't ever, any football club, think that you're going to win the league every single year. It's just Celtic have had a period of unparalleled success, but it's got to stop sometime. And a lot of their success has come down to the absolute basket case that we have been over a period, and that's why when you consider even this season, you look at Hearts and you say all Hearts have done is got their model in place and they can challenge. Well, think about us and look at it in a perspective where Hearts financially have been in a much better place for 4 or 5 years. They get the Tony Bloom model in, and all of a sudden they're capable of growing and becoming a better football team. You can compare that to us, only we would be almost on steroids if we can get this right. And that's what I would say, that if you can get everything put in place, then the potential for Rangers Football Club, I've been saying this for many, many years, is just enormous. And that's why they are here. They're not here to sit here and challenge for league titles. They're here to win league titles. And you're absolutely correct, Stevie. It can't happen every season, but they'll be looking at saying, right, we can get 2 in every 3. That's what they'll be looking at. And as I say, I just look at that today and every other statement and every other meeting that we've had with Andrew Kavanagh, and the man just impresses me more and more. I think we have the right man at the helm. I think with the knowledge and the aid and help that the 49ers are bringing, and even the football side of it with Greta Steinson and Stiginga Bjornaby. You look at the January signings and everything's beginning to click into place. Got the wrong manager at the first, mate. Seem to have the correct guy in place at this moment in time. And I'm with you. I said it to you months ago, if you think about it, that I was, whether we win the league this season or not, I am very, very, very confident that next season we will prosper in a massive way, just because of the almost the seed planting that's been going on this season, and you just allow it to flower. That's all I think they're doing at this minute in time. So let's bring it on. It just excited me today when I read that. I just couldn't believe what I was reading at times, that they're turning around and saying, yeah, we're going to charge you, but we're going to put every bit as much as you are in to get the success that we deserve. So, yeah, it's, as I say, it's manna from heaven for me. I was really delighted reading that today.
Yeah, look, I think there's no doubt that Andrew Kavanagh and co started off wrongly. Russell Martin, nice guy, wrong place, wrong time. Patrick Stewart, Kevin Thelwell. I think Patrick Stewart was the main issue. Kevin Thelwell took the brunt of the other two that were mentioned. He might actually turn out to have done not a bad job when you consider Manny Fernandez and Yusuf Chermiti will be going for a hell of a lot of money. When I talk about record sales, we'll get a frightening amount for Yusuf Chermiti, and a frightening amount for Manny Fernandez. Nico Raskin will most likely go for big money as well. So these things are all going to potentially come to fruition. But what is exciting about our football team is we've got assets in there, and we'll get more, and we'll buy more, and we'll look for more. There would be a time where we were looking at it realistically and saying, well, we can't afford to keep Mikey Moore. We can afford to keep Mikey Moore. We can pay 15 odd million for Mikey Moore, because that's the ambition level now under Andrew Kavanagh. And I think personally, we should just give him no choice. Just keep him. Just tell Spurs to piss off. We're keeping them. Thanks very much. One of the things I wanted to revisit and I talked about before, Mark, was the appointment of Jim Gillespie and Fraser Thornton as CEO and Executive Director. Now, the reason I wanted to come back to that and about talking about the other teams in the league and our relationship with them, something the club highlighted today, Rangers have approached all the other football teams in the league and they want to have a serious discussion about the levels of officiating and refereeing in this league. It is highly known throughout all the clubs that the levels and the leadership is not good enough. All the clubs are willing to participate in this. This isn't a case of it being big bad Rangers, nobody wants involved in it. Everybody's going to come together. And this isn't a case of ganging up, it's constructive feedback. SFA, SPFL, whatever you want to call it, Wally Collum, etc., are aware this is happening and apparently are on board with it. So the clubs are all going to get together, led by Rangers, to revolutionise and want change, whether they upscale refereeing, whether they upscale VAR and the use of it. That's all things that are on discussion. That's why I wanted to come back to. That's the approach of the football club. The approach of the football club is that they want to get everybody aligned and solve it for the good of Scottish football. But they won't, and they made it clear that they won't carry the grenades for everybody. Rangers won't be the mouthpiece. Rangers want constructive and everybody coming at it from the same. So it'll not be a case of 12 clubs meet and Rangers are the ones doing the shouting. This will be all for everybody. coming together and going to try and solve, which has been a very poor season of officiating. That's the way Rangers want to approach things. That's how they want to galvanise and not going grenades out, I suppose, but wanting to get everybody aligned, Mark, and go for it.
No, and I think from our perspective, I think it was just us, it would just be everyone's against Rangers. But I think, throughout this season, I think you're right, where the standard officiating this season's been appalling. That Willie Collum show that's on a Friday night, the countless errors that we see week in and week out. But it's not just us. I think that's why it'll be good for all clubs to have a voice given. We've seen it throughout the season where there's been countless errors, ones that can cost points for teams that are down the bottom, teams that are costing points at the top. This is having the officiating been so bad at points, it could cost teams a lot of money. And at the end of the day, given where we are in this country with financials, some teams here, depending on where they finish on that league, money at the end of the season is massive for them. And I'm glad that collectively everyone's been involved in this, because I think if it was just us, it'd been a harder argument than sake for everyone then obviously having a voice and putting out there, because it's pretty clear every single week, not just us, but countless teams are talking about the standard of officiating in this country. I brought up on Sunday in terms of options that we should do. I think the impact it's having on our product, you just need to look at where the SPL is right now. There's 3 teams competing for a title which has not been around for a long, long time. I think the viewing in terms of the games that have been on the TV in recent months have been significantly higher to what they have been in prior seasons. So we've got a product there, but I think the problem we've got is if the officiating and the standard of it's so bad, people aren't going to be interested, given, it's just an absolute disgrace, some of the decisions we're seeing on the part. But collectively, I'm glad that everyone's involved and everyone's going to have a voice in this to put their opinions and look at options on how we change this moving forward. But from my perspective, it starts at the top and things need to be challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny?
Yeah, that's very good to hear, actually, that Jim Gillespie, who has got a massive connection to Smyrna, obviously, that the clubs have actually put the anti-Rangers thing aside for once and actually went, what, they've got a point. The refereeing standards, we've banged on about this all season. But since Willie Collum has came in, there's just no getting round this. And it's not to sit there and, slate the man as a human being. It's just it's the level or the standard of job that he's doing. The level that referees are performing at is low as I've ever seen it. And it really is. And that says something, because I'm quite old and I've seen some shocking referees in Scotland over the years. So for everybody to be able to get together, the thing that I would be looking at is first and foremost, bin the Timu version that we have of VAR. It's a load of bollocks. It's embarrassing. It is genuinely embarrassing when you see now. But bear in mind, if you've got, for talking sake here, if you've got Sky Sports, TNT Sports, DAZN, and Premier Sports, our version of VAR is genuinely comical. It is, when you see everybody else in every other league you watch, and you just go, Jesus, man, look at this. It is embarrassing. So that to me should be upgraded. And whether the clubs are going to have to put extra funds in to do that, then that's fine. The refereeing standards are a different thing altogether. I would be looking at turning around and saying that over a period, over the next, 5 years or so, they have to look at turning around and saying that part-time referees has to stop. It just has to stop. You have to have full-time referees. Now, this all costs money, Stevie, and this is where I would expand this slightly and include, stuff like everything that's been mentioned today in that open letter. And I would turn and see the next protocol over the next year or so for Rangers is to get the clubs together and turn around and say to Sky, you either give us money or you're getting binned. And there's so many streaming companies now, streaming services now, Stevie, that are desperate to get into football. And that's where the San Francisco Niners and their media expertise should come in for the benefit of all the clubs in Scotland. We should be getting at least double the amount of money that we get per season We're getting 30 million a season at this moment in time, Stevie, and it's just a nonsense. It is. So let's hope that Rangers actually start to lead the game in this country over the next couple of years, because this might be the first sign of it, actually, that clubs have put the anti-Rangers thing aside. Now, whether that's been previous boards, whether that's certain individuals that are now not on other particular boards, without naming people, you'll know who I'm talking about, and people are a wee bit easier to talk to all of a sudden, then who knows? But that to me again is really, really interesting. That you know what it's like. It's been like the last 20 years, Stevie. Rangers say anything, and they all just go, don't care. So now that they do care, it's very, very intriguing actually that clubs are prepared to sit down and listen to us. So that's good news.
Yeah, I'm still laughing at that decision at the weekend on Saturday to chop off that goal. Really was farcical stuff. I'm trying to think about how we kind of sum this up today. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the football club for once again making itself open and transparent. I think we've got owners who really do want that. Andrew Kavanagh, think about it, ladies and gentlemen, paid 70 odd million for the club, put in now will be upwards of 30 plus million, and he's prepared to sit down with guys that run a podcast just because he wants to know about Rangers fans. He wants to know what we're thinking. He wants to know what we're feeling. I think that's quite special. And in that, he asks you, or he says to you, you've got 45 minutes to ask me whatever you want about my football club, about our football club. And I think that's pretty special. So thank you to Rangers for that. I think that level of insight to us is a good thing. Andrew Kavanagh has made it clear the trajectory of the football club. He doesn't make promises. He doesn't promise he's going to do things with the stadium. He doesn't promise he's going to put things on the park. He just tells you he's going to do it. This is what he wants to do, and he's going to work towards it. There's no promises. There's no I'm going to do it by then, I'm going to do it. He just says we're going to do it. And this is what we're going to do. So that impresses me. Other thing today, Jim Gillespie, not been in the job for too long. The chairman says it took one meeting for them to realise that he was the man they wanted, and the man that they felt would be an excellent addition alongside Fraser Thornton. So good luck to Jim Gillespie. The invitation to come on the podcast has been put out to Jim. He's very welcome to do that. I would love to be able to sit down and speak to him. Maybe he could speak to the fans and give us a wee bit insight into him. But boys, all in all, when you look at it in a way that we've got foreign owners, no disrespect when I say that, but they're not cultured in Rangers. They're learning, and they put themselves out there just to speak to ordinary fans from Rangers fan advisory boards, fan media, various supporters club and things like that, and allow themselves just open dialogue. You can ask whatever you want. I think that needs commended, and I think that's a brilliant thing to have that level of insight into the football club.
Yeah, it is, and it's a different way of going about it, isn't it? And what I look at, again, when you look over the course of this season, and in that statement today, or in that letter today, he turned around and he says, as you say, Jim Gillespie, one meeting, and he's decided that he's the man he wants. The Rangers fan, he understands the club. Fraser Thornton has been effectively promoted in terms of the importance that he has at the football club. Also a Rangers fan. They've been fully aware when you look back on Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell being relieved of their duties. I think they've realised they don't get this football club. I think the owners have figured that out really quite quickly. That is down to exactly what you've said there, Stevie. It's been able to engage with supporters and listen to them and take on board the fact that just about everybody in the Rangers support back then was turning around and telling anybody that would listen, these guys do not get our football club. they don't understand it. Russell Martin doesn't understand our football club. I mean, to turn around and say I only lost one game, as Russell Martin did last week. Aye, very good, mate. Are you mental? It's just a lack of understanding of where you are and what has to be done at our football club and what has to be done to make it successful. And again, the situation like that where you're not going to hear a chairman or of any company, really, and Mark, you'll know this as well as I do, you're never going to hear somebody turn around and say that to you, really. I one meeting and I knew it was him. Because there is a process in that. So for the man to turn around and admit that quite so openly to support us, yeah, we just knew right away that Jim was the guy we wanted. Shows an understanding of the environment that Andrew Kavanagh and the other American guys that are here and the 49ers have now found themselves in, and they're learning on the job, and they're learning really, really quickly. And that's what I like about the way our club's going. The trajectory is only going upwards, and it's exciting times for us, and that's where I kind of see the future heading, which is to put us back in a position where we are the number one club in this football club, which is where we should be. And all credit goes to Andrew Kavanagh and the team behind them. Honestly, I can't praise them enough. And I don't want to sit there and be all gushing in this for the sake of it, but I genuinely read that today and just couldn't be happier about where Rangers are right here and right now. I'm delighted with what the job that everybody's doing there at the moment.
Mark?
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of that one meeting, I think given that line of role and responsibility, he's made a big impression in one meeting. I think the fact that he's also got affiliation with Rangers already, given he's a supporter. The thing I like about Andrew Kavanagh as well, in terms of, there's a couple of things. That whole piece on the CEO, I don't think they panicked on that. I think he was obviously stepping in and having a major involvement throughout, even though he's based in America. I think the second thing as well is they brought in Stevie in January in December some form of consultant, and again they're not panicking on the sporting director football. And again, I think it goes back to that piece of the involvement Andrew Kavanagh's having in the club day to day. I'm sure he's a busy man in terms of his businesses and stuff that he's obviously going on, but it's pretty clear the passion that he has for this club and the involvement he's having in the day to day. He's clearly involved in a big way, given there is roles there that should be getting filled, but they're not panicking and not just jumping in and making sure that somebody's filling that role for the sake of it. They're taking their time. I think they've learned from the Russell Martin, Kevin Thelwell situation where, in all fairness to Andrew Kavanagh, he was guided by Kevin Thelwell in terms of Russell Martin, etc., in terms of that team coming in. And, he's probably learned a lot within a short space of time, but I think the good part about Andrew Kavanagh is if it's not working, he's pretty ruthless. Could he have done it a little bit earlier with Russell Martin and Kevin Thelwell? Possibly, but I think it's one that they'd invested heavily at that moment in time. So to try and give them at least that couple of months to see how that rides out, there was obviously one that didn't work. But the one thing that I do like about them, though, is when push comes to shove, they will be ruthless in the end and be pretty much... throat cutting. Jesus, get that out, Mark.
It's all right, mate. You've got hair. You can get away with it. Couple of questions to answer before we go. Any truth Rangers have secured 2,500 for our game at Parkhead? Yes. Kelso, as Rangers will have normal allocation. What will happen beyond that, I'm not sure, but we do have that for the closing game when we go there and put them out of their misery title-wise. Wouldn't that be nice? Also, question there, ever thought about Gers Legends getting Gers Legends along to do the odd pod, lads? Doddington, yes, we have. We do a series called The Rangers Years. First episode was Stephen Naismith, which went down really well, whether you like it or didn't like it. Then we had episode 2, which was Mark Hateley. Episode 3, Gordon Smith. Episode 4 was Davy Robertson, and episode 5 was Chris Burke. So there is plenty of interviews there if you want to go and look. We had a interview with Barry Ferguson on last week as well. Also did an interview a couple of weeks ago with Club 1872. So there's always interviews on the site. I'm actually talking to an old friend of ours, Andy Firth. He's going to join me next week. We'll quiz him on what Steven Gerrard was like and get some tales of that as well. So hopefully we do a lot of interviews and things that you might like on the site as well. I think Kamar Roof's on the site somewhere as well. So yeah, we do our very, very best. Thank you for joining us this midweek, Kenny. Always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Cracking show. Very informative and intriguing stuff. Actually, I'm really quite excited, as I say, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. Actually, it was a good chat. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Stephen. And onwards and upwards, eh?
Mark, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. A wee bit of hair in midweek. Certainly appreciated.
No, thanks for having me. Big shoes to fill, given Chris has been on well. Hopefully he recovers and gets better soon. So yes, there was a bit of pressure on tonight, but no, it's a good show. Plenty to get through and some good updates there.
Just before we go, folks, big thanks to William who donated. When do we know when season ticket renewals will go on sale? Next couple of weeks is your answer. And Speeds as well. 4 Lads Fan Media, well played and representing fans. Thank you both for the donation. Humbly, I will say that we just try and do our best. In a very privileged position, one that we don't take for granted, one that the football club could stop at any minute. And I would go back to my season ticket seat and just support the club from there, because that's what I've done and will continue to try and do. So appreciate that. People don't need to donate. We really appreciate it. But if you want to help us, you could get a membership and that would help us grow. To do that, all you need to do is click on the QR code, which is up there from as little as 99p a month. That means that when we do want to go and get people on and stuff like that, it makes it a wee bit easier. People don't do things for free anymore, so that helps us grow, and we really appreciate it. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Cliveview Fire Protection and Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, our very own Candid. Amrit is still here, by the way. He's just mega busy, I'm told, ruling the ice cream world and other things that he does, so he'll be back at some point. And our Sunday sponsor, RYDC. Huge thank you to everybody in the comments and everybody that has followed and liked and stuff. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. That really helps us grow. Sorry if I'm still sounding a wee bit coldy and stuff. I'm still taking medicine and trying to get over it. But we hope we enjoyed the show. Guess what? We're back tomorrow. We are back tomorrow night, 7:30, I think, as well. So we're back. There's no Friday night show. And then I think on Sunday, it's just going to be me on my own. I think that I'll probably come on about 7 and we'll do a Q&A just with people. If you want to come on and ask anything, talk about Rangers, get your point across, have discussions. I'll probably drag somebody on with me, but the Sunday show takes a rest this week, so I will join just to keep you with some content. We'll also get Firthy's interview out next week. We'll be back Monday, usual stuff. But yeah, thank you everybody, much appreciated. Have a really good night. Take care. We'll see you all again soon. Thanks to our guests and thanks on behalf of me. Bye for now.
The 4 Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.